Chaos Gunners Collective TV. Back at it? You already know. Like a motherfucking smack addict. Buy up, buy up, buy up. In a Manolo-style direct fashion, we're going to get straight into the content of the day. But before we do, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Ding. Put your notification bell on all, so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content I am taking. And I highly appreciate all the support, man. We're going up on this channel, and it's all because of you. And for that, I can say I'm very humbled, man. I'm very much so appreciative. I know I couldn't do this shit without you, man. So thank you very much. Let's talk about the Bulldogs, right? If you noticed, they've been very explosive, very quiet. The Bulldogs, man, have not made any noise since all this North and South dissing on wax has been happening. You noticed? I noticed, right? You see, prior to all these back and forths between Rico Two Spoon Bands and Lazy Boy and Chito Ranas and Lefty Gunplay, there's been a lot of just crickets coming from the Dogs, right? Very smart. The Voltas are playing chess, not checkers. And it's understandable, you know? But who's next for Adam? Who's next for No Jumper? He's already interviewed the Southerners, a gang of Southerners. He's interviewed Northerners, and I think he'll interview a few more. You know, I think maybe Acito or maybe Young Iggs or some of these guys will probably be next. Maybe a GB. I don't know. You know, I can't call it like an alcoholic. I'm not for sure who's going to go on No Jumper. He keeps us guessing. That's one thing I can say about Adams. He keeps the world guessing. But he ain't hard to figure out. You know, I pretty much called it when he started woofing on Lefty, and he started talking about bands was banned and this and that. I called it like an alcoholic. I said, hey, tomorrow he'll be dropping the Big Tone interview for sure. I bet you he does it. Boom, 3 o'clock, there it was, right? So I'm starting to think, you know, where do the Bulldogs fit into all this? You know, is he ever going to interview a Bulldog rapper? You know, there's several Bulldog rappers that are not really spoken upon or not as well known as maybe these North and South rappers or rappers from up North and South. Again, I told you I don't want to put a label on them. I just want to call them rappers from different areas. You know, there's rappers like Faith 300 from Fresno who started to get a little buzz a couple years ago, make a little bit of noise. And, you know, like he slept on. And I think, you know, the Bulldogs don't get any type of shine because, you know, politics come into play. You know, it's kind of hard being Raza, and you don't fit into that North mix. You don't fit into that South mix. You know, the Bulldogs are just independent renegades doing their own thing, you know. So I could see Adam quite possibly interviewing a Bulldog. Are they up next? Are they the next ones? You would think that Adam would make that next move his best move, because I think the Bulldogs should get their shine, should get their chance, right? Now, will that get people more riled up than this North and South? Probably, you know, probably. And I'm not trying to instigate pleito or drama. I'm just saying with everything Adam's been doing, it's kind of crazy on how he's left the Bulldogs out of it. Does Adam even know what a Fresno Bulldog is the truth. Now, since this North and South shit has been heating up and there's been a lot of back and forth, if you notice, the Bulldogs have been out the way. Very quiet. Ever since that video was dropped, I've noticed. Ever since that video was dropped, I'd say a few months back, man, where it showed the Bulldogs getting to a yard in the prison system and North and South getting off on the Dogs, man. And everybody's seen that video. Everybody reacted to it. And it was pretty much, that's how it's going in the CDC. You know, they're putting Bulldogs and integrating them on different yards. And ever since that video was dropped, I haven't heard much from the Bulldogs. They've been very quiet, you know, smart, very smart, right? This is what you do in the game. This is the art of guerra, the art of war. If you see your two enemies, your two enemies, your biggest threats, right, arguing amongst themselves and going at it, they're at war. What do? You don't involve yourself. You step back and you let them tear each other up and you pick up with the pieces that are left and handle your business. And the Bulldogs have been around for so many years because that's what they do. They're quick to get out the way, let the North and South issues play out and do their thing, and then come back in and in typical dog fashion, man, eat whatever's left. Facts, right? Now, the Bulldogs, they used to be in my lives a lot, man. I get a lot of love from Fresno, man. Shout out to Fresno, straight up. There used to be a lot of Bulldogs in my lives. There's not necessarily that much anymore, right? I don't see them on the internet as much. I don't hear them making too much noise on social media. And I'm not saying that that video that was put out was the catalyst of it, but it seems like ever since that video popped out, you don't see too many Bulldogs on, on YouTube or on social media. Not like they used to be. At least not on YouTube. I don't know how they're doing it on Instagram or TikTok. But I know on YouTube, man, that you don't see as many dogs. Now, I respect the Dogs Get Down. I always have, man. I think I'm one of the very few that show them the respect that they deserve because I've done time with them. I've been around them since I was a kid all the way to an adult. They live in the Central Valley, which is only about an hour away from where I'm from. So I've had interaction with the dogs. I've engaged with them on different levels, right? So I know what it is, man. I know what it is to be around a Perro Chato. I know what it is to be around an F14er. I know what it is to be around a Fresno Bulldog 209er back in the days before they were 559. I know about all that, right? Before the philosophy was them versus everyone, I remember when Bulldogs were homies. They were Norteños, and we all rocked together, man. So when I think dogs, man, I think that. I think old school F14, even though I know it's different now, and I know that people see them as a thorn in the side or not even a threat at all. I know what they're about, man. I know that they move vicious, they move quietly, and they'll handle it. Unless you're in the hole. If you're in the hole, you hear a lot of barking. That's their form of communication. That's also their form to let you know that they're right there, that they're standing 10 toes down or 4 paws down, right? But what's next? What's next for the dogs? Is Adam going to interview one? Is Adam willing? Adam's been going out the box lately, and it seems like whatever people say about Adam 16, he goes against that grain. I never thought in a million years that Adam would interview Norteños. For one, I didn't think Norteños would ever go on No Jumper. Didn't think there was a chance of them doing that because I know traditionally Northerners were not allowed on camera or to speak, outside of their circle, to let people know the inner workings of what they had going on. But I see times have changed. Things have changed. And with all this internet shit exploding and content creators and podcasts, why not? It's the time now for Norteños to have a voice, man, and speak up. And I don't know if they were allowed to do that or they just took the initiative like, fuck it, Holmes. La primera. They did it, right? And I can say I've enjoyed watching people like Big Tone and Rico Too Smooth and Bands and Lazy Boy. I've enjoyed watching them, seeing Norteños finally get a little bit of shine, man. Seeing them finally become a household name and be recognized. Because there was a lot of work that's been put in over the years, man. There's a lot of blood that's been spilled. There's a lot of, shit that has went on inside the prison system and outside the prison system. And it seems like people sleep on the Norteños. They're not really of an understanding exactly what a Norteño is or was, right? And to me, it's like, man, the sacrifices that have been made, are not for naught. You understand that as a Norteño, man, you sacrifice. Every time you go to prison, man, your numbers are short. It's rough, right? It's rough. And you're basically sacrificing that and going through that struggle and that cause, man, for, social status of equality, just to be treated equal. But I think they've already did that, man. I think they're going to be treated about as equal as they possibly can. And now it's time to shine. It's time to move ahead, to progress, right? Because if you're only fighting for equality, man, once you've attained that, what's next? What is your cause? Your cause is mute. It's dead, right? It doesn't count for anything anymore because you have nothing to fight for. But I believe the Norteño cause is bigger than that, and they have a lot to fight for. Now into the Bulldogs, right? The Bulldogs remind me of the same thing. What are they fighting for? Are they fighting for existence, just to survive and exist? Or are they fighting to make a name for themselves? To me, people like me who've done time with them, I recognize and respect and believe that they've already established their name. To others that don't know too much about them, man, they still got a long way to go to gain that respect or put their foot in the door or get a seat at that table, right? And that's righteous. I understand that. people don't respect what they don't know. You have to do a lot and put in a lot of work for them to respect you. You know, I remember the Bulldogs were such a threat, even when I was in the youth authority, that when they broke off, man, and they decided to do their own thing, the Southerners kind of took a step back and they were like, wow. They were in that position. They were in the position the Dogs are in right now. The position was, okay, they're going at it with Norteños. The Bulldogs have broke off. Let them go to war. Let them tear each other up. The Southsiders put a red light on the Dogs, meaning that they weren't going to get off on them or nothing back then. They were going to allow the Bulldogs and the Norteños to take each other out. Smart move. Well played, right? In the words of Adam. It was very well played. And there was a lot of that going on. I think when the Norteños, as a people, we realized, you know, what was going on, we had to take a step back and realize, hey, man, these Vatos are playing us all out of pocket. They're letting us destroy each other. And in the meantime, they're just chilling, eating spreads, always coming out to yard, and we're over here fucking fighting each other over what? You know, over a cold bowl of soup that don't even taste good. And eventually we got it together and figured out what was going on. But the Bulldogs are in that position right now. They're in a position where, because the North and South are heating up so much, and I know it's not even, I know shit has happened in the streets, but it's more so banging on wax, right? Still they're sitting back probably laughing. They're laughing because they're not getting involved. They're not being heavy-handed. They're not putting their hand in the mix. You know, because what happens if the Bulldogs truly started to, if one of the rappers decided to make an album right now, disrespecting North and South and laughing at Lefty Gunplay and laughing at bands and doing what they do, right? Well, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Immediately, everyone's going to turn on the Dogs, and then they'll become the hunted. They'll become the targeted, right? And it's funny because when it comes to the Bulldogs, man, they're recognized and hated a lot by North and South. That's facts, you know, within them walls. And, you know, again, the South doesn't really have to deal with Bulldogs. You know, I'm talking about Southern California. They don't really deal with Bulldogs too much, just like they don't deal with Norteños too much. So I don't see them looking at the Bulldogs as a threat on the streets, you know, and even more so behind the walls, because, you know, the Bulldogs traditionally have been kept segregated from, you know, active gang members. They're active too, but, you know, they've been segregated from the North and South. Now, just now, they're starting to integrate them. So it's becoming a little bit different. People are starting to recognize the Bulldogs as a threat, and they're engaging with them. You know, I know a lot of Southsiders, man, even homies, Northerners, right, that have done time in the CDC and never ran into a Bulldog, never had to do time with them on a yard, have only heard stories. They'll be like, nah, I've never even seen a dog, bro. Like, you ain't never seen a Bulldog? Charlie, bro, I ain't never seen a dog. Because they were always away. They were always doing their own thing on their own yards, you know, so it's just the way it was. But anyways, back to Adam, you know, and I was getting at my homeboy. He's a dog, right? The other day, and I was like, hey, what's up with the Dogs? Are they going to get some shine on No Jumper? He was like, I don't know, bro. You know, I don't know. I don't deal with the little rappers like that. I don't know if they're willing to go on there and direct basically the traffic towards them, because that's immediately what would happen. Immediately, they'll talk shit about Adam. People will talk shit about Adam. And I don't know if Adam is willing to do that, to go that far to bring Bulldogs on, right? To bring Norteños on was a big step for Adam. You know, I thought there was going to be more hate than there actually was. And there's been a lot of hate. There's been a lot of back and forth. I mean, you know, the disrespect is real, right? And we're at a point right now where, like, Adam and, like, say, Lefty Gunplay are not seeing eye to eye. They're disrespecting each other. And all this is over. Really, it all stems from Norteños going to the No Jumper podcast and sitting down. Other brown men, other Chicanos, other Mexicanos, raza. No difference other than they were born or they come from a different area. But because they sat down at that table, people are feeling some type of way, man. There's been threats, there's been hatred, there's been a lot of people that have fell off from No Jumper that don't watch it. You know, I have my reasons why I don't really fuck with it. And it has nothing to do with, you know, the shenanigans, because I know that it's a drama-filled fucking podcast. It's what they do, man, as the world turns over there, right? But more so with me, it's I don't care for Adam, and I know what he is, and I don't care for the questions that he asks gang members or alleged gang members or people that are living that street life, man, that can quite possibly get them caught up in the future. I just don't like that, man. I feel that, you know, Vatos, man, go on there to push their product and to push their narrative and just to, go sit down on at a big podcast, man, and get their shine. And his whole thing is to stir up drama, instigate things, and cause conflict within the black and brown community. That's just my feeling. That's how I feel. Now, I believe if he brought a Bulldog on, that would really be stirring the pot. Because then people would be like, oh shit. And I think the Bulldogs are smart enough to understand that at this point right now, the best thing is to not engage with Adam or No Jumper or any of that and just stand back. So anyways, when I was getting at that Bulldog homie, I was like, hey bro, will you guys go on there? And he was like, I don't know, man, we don't. The one thing about the Bulldogs is they don't have a hierarchy. There's not, no one's dictating their program. Each clica, each water, each gang is different. They speak for themselves. They're independent, right? So he's like, I wouldn't know. If the Vatos want to go, they go, man. I said, that had nothing to do with us. He's like, my dogs are my dogs and whatever. And I was like, oh, I hear you, bro. I said, I'm just tripping because I see Adam bringing on North and, of course, South. And you would think, where's the Bulldogs at, right? And he goes, well, I don't even know what rappers there are. And I know myself, there's only a few rappers, Bulldog rappers, that are well known or known enough to maybe make their presence felt on No Jumper. Like I said, Fate 300. There's a couple others, man. I know there was a real famous one, man, that got locked up. He's doing time in the feds right now. So there's just a few, and I don't even know if they've landed on Adam's radar, to be totally honest with you. But at the same time, I mean, you would think the way Adam is going at this point, oh, well played, God, well played, right? That he would bring Fresno Bulldogs on there. It just boggles my mind how No Jumper has went from a podcast about rap music, a podcast about, the street life in general. I'm talking about b-boys and graffiti and things like that, to straight full-blown prison politics and gangs and this and that. And you have Adam, the one asking the questions. It trips me out that Vatos would sit down with, out of all people in the world, they'd sit down and speak on shit to this guy. I guess he's active, right? Man, active in Canada with the 16-year-olds. It's just a trip, right? But whatever. Will we see Bulldogs on No Jumper? Quite possibly. But I think it's Adam keeps everyone on their toes on what he's doing next. And is it really such a fucking big deal? Not really. I've been waiting to see if the Dogs start their own podcast. I see the Norteños just started their own podcast, man. A few different ones. Dope one, man. Two Sides of the Game with Big Tone and AWACS. I really like that podcast, man. I really respect the way they're carrying themselves, man. I really respect Tone. That's right off the top. You guys seen him yourself on No Jumper. For those that watched the interview, righteous, comes from an era, man, of solid individuals, very laced up, educated, glitchad up. I just like what he brings to the table on that podcast, man. And AWACS, man, is the perfect yin and yang. AWACS, man, coming from the streets, growing up around Norteños, growing up around the Mexicano culture, the raza culture, but also still sticking true to his roots, man, as a brother. I gotta respect it, man. I gotta respect what they're bringing there. I think it's the perfect mix, and I think that they're gonna get bigger and bigger. I see their numbers growing, man, and I support it. I support it, man. And I know that eventually they'll start getting other people on there to interview. It gets real tricky when it comes to politics and all that. But I think that, man, they basically got a good foundation right there, man. So we'll see how that goes. I would love to see the Bulldogs have a podcast eventually, and speak their mind and tell their stories. You don't see too many Bulldogs online, man. You don't see too many of them in the mix. And I don't know if that they're just not intrigued, or they want to stay out the limelight, or they're smart enough to understand, man, they're not trying to get indicted off no bullshit. But one thing is for sure, it's only a matter of time before their presence is felt. It's already been felt in the prison yards, on the streets. Let's see what happens on social media. Again, I'm not instigating or pumping them up to do something. I'm just saying, man, I've always wondered why they haven't. And I respect, the get down. And I understand a little bit about, the social media is wild, man. It could get people caught up in real life. And so, the Dogs have always been the type of group that they're just quick to handle their business and then do their own thing. So, I don't know, man. I'm hearing rumors that maybe, just maybe, Adam might be thinking about bringing some Bulldogs on there. Now, of course, it would have to be a Bulldog rapper. You just can't bring Bulldog gang members on there. That'd be fucking wild, right? I don't think the Southerners would like that. I don't think Northerners would like that. But just is what it is, man. It's just crazy that we're all brown. 3 brown groups. North, South, Bulldogs. Brown guys. If I was to walk into a room and these guys were just dressed normal, I wouldn't know who was who. Right? And these guys are willing to kill each other, man. I know. I participated in it for a very, very long time. Used to hate the Dogs. I probably hated Bulldogs more than I did Southsiders, just because the Bulldogs, man, would get off every time they see me. See, with Southsiders, there was always a line of communication or conversation. That's one thing I can say about North and South. For all these rappers that are disrespecting fuck the other side, and I see that Lefty just did a concert, right? And when he was leaving the stage of the concert, he was screaming F Norteños and all that, right? Trips me out. I've never, ever in my life seen a Southsider from Southern California, a righteous Sureño or Southsider from Southern California, ever even mention Norteños outside of the prison walls. Never heard of it, never seen it. This is the first time, right? But I guess this is where we went with it, right? And I've never seen Norteños engaging with Vatos from Southern California unless they're behind the walls. I've seen the upstate thing, but I've never seen that, right? So it's just a different. But I believe the Bulldogs, man, you know, if they were to get in the mix right now at this point in time, it'd get ugly for them. I believe that North and South would immediately not open a line of communication and be like, fuck that, we can't allow these dudes to get in the mix, right? It's crazy, man. I can only imagine being a Bulldog, man. Them Vatos go against everyone. That's a trip, right? The raza, man, the raza is different. That's why myself, Dubs, and other people, we talk about, you know, we tell these prison stories and we get like a lot of the brothers will get upset, or even the Woods brother will get upset. They're like, man, you tell stories like the raza always wins. And the raza, I mean, we're telling you from a standpoint of what we've seen, actually what we've seen. And I've seen everybody take L's and I've seen everybody get W's, right? But I'm going to be totally honest with you, man. The raza just moves different. These Vatos are truly dedicated, you know. When they stab you or they do a removal, and they're not running from it. They're staying on the Vato fucking till the fucking cops shoot them, right? It's crazy. And when you have individuals that are that dedicated to a movement and a cause, man, that you got to stay the fuck up out their way. You know, and brothers that have done time with Bulldogs and North and South, they'll tell you, man, essays are different, right? Straight up. It's the truth. So imagine these 3 groups going at each other, which has been happening for decades. It gets dangerous. It's so dangerous that you know, the California Department of Corrections had to segregate the dogs and had to, you know, watch very close. And just recently, they're starting to integrate them. And look, as soon as they hit the yards, they're getting moved on. It's crazy. So we'll see, man. We'll see if Adam decides to let a Perro Chato get on there. I advocate for him. I hope a Bulldog gets on there and gets a shine, man. I'd like to hear their story and hear where they're coming from and what's going on with the dogs nowadays, right? Again, I get some behind the scenes action, man, talking to some dogs. And you know, the dogs I talk to, man, are pretty old school, though. You know, F-14ers and shit. And so they're really about the mix as far as, you know, what these kids got going on. But I know these kids are dangerous, man. And I know these youngsters, they're rowdy. They handle their business. So I don't know, man. What do you guys think? Do you think Adam will bring a Bulldog on next? I've been hearing rumors, man. We'll see. With that being said, I hope that you move with a purpose. Get everything that you want coming. And remember, at the end of the day, it's all about the strive, the struggle, the struggle, the strive. I'm going to continue to do what I do right here on YouTube, man, and other social media platforms. And I appreciate, man, all the support that I'm getting. Thank you. This is The Gun.